because certain people either have control or power or money or greed, they're causing much harm to the world, to their own people, and to the faith. And I think that's where this movement, what Mr. Gulen's doing, is fundamental to understanding and respect for each other, and we need more of it. Seen as My name is Rolingher, and I'm a lawyer here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I was first a petroleum engineer and worked in the United States in the Gulf of Mexico, but I went back to law school and then came back to Canada, where my home was, and I've been here ever since. I've had a long history with various charitable, not-for-profit organizations in Edmonton, besides practicing law for some 47 years. The tour allowed me to see various places where the Hizmet movement had set up schools, hospitals, social programs for children after school throughout the whole country. And I was very, very impressed. And I found that the Hizmet movement in Turkey was completely open. We asked for certain things and they delivered. In other words, we'd like to go to the eastern part of the country, see what Kurdish people look like and live like, and what's their reaction to what's going on in Turkey. And this was 5 or so years ago, before what we're going through right now. How prophetic. In addition, because I'm Jewish, I wanted to see and understand how are Jewish people treated, and they were completely open and went out of their way in Istanbul and elsewhere to show us the history of the Jewish population of Turkey in a completely open and unbiased way. I felt very much at home, and I was very happy with the people who did this, and we got to meet people, and that was maybe the highlight, meeting local people who lived in the various cities. So when I came back from Turkey to Canada, I thought I had discovered something that was pretty remarkable, and then became acquainted with people here who were involved with the movement, wanting to do things here in Edmonton in a very productive and a positive way. People who were obviously Muslim, who took their religion seriously, but were as open to discussion and communication as I was. Well, I've never met Mr. Gülen. I've seen him on TV. I've read about him. I understand he lives in the eastern United States now. I would very much appreciate the chance to do so, to meet him, to understand how he came up with these ideas that are, frankly, not expected from the Middle East or from Turkey, or maybe, for that matter, from anywhere in this world. So for a person who not only talks the talk, but walks the walk, to say, I believe in plurality and discourse, in communication amongst all peoples, and then go out and actually do it, is a remarkable achievement. Of course, it helps to have a fair amount of money to do it, because none of this is cheap, I know, but he actually does what he says he's going to do, and for that I applaud him. I think he should be recognized by many more people. He should come out and meet people as much as he could. Life is short, and we wouldn't want to remember him as a memory, as someone who's passed and gone. He should be available right now, because I think he's got an awful lot more to give. If someone's brought along this movement this far and done remarkable things in Turkey and in here, I think should be available to many more people to learn from and to grow with. I think what he's done is represent the Muslim faith in a whole new light. It's seen as something from the Middle East or the Far East or elsewhere, here in North America. I'm only giving you my impression as somebody who lives in North America and Canada, that it's a religion and a practice and a faith that's not well understood. And sadly, what we're going through post the USSR breakup has been nothing short than cataclysmic in the way things are occurring in this world. And much of it's coming out of the Middle East, and much of it's associated with Islam. I don't think it's the true representation of Islam, but because certain people either have control or power or money or greed, they're causing much harm to the world, to their own people, and to the faith. And I think that's where this movement, Mr. Gulen's doing, is fundamental to understanding and respect for each other. And we need more of it, and we need to have him out in the public presence, because we need to have more people speak up for the religion from within. It's one thing for me to say, like I did with the creation of the Phoenix Multi-Faith Society that I did with the other faiths, to say we should all work together. But you also have to stand up for yourself and say, here's what we really stand for. And I don't think that until that's done universally, it will be either understood or accepted, because too much is still happening right now as we speak in Iraq, in Syria, in Iran, in Gaza, in places that only extremism is the order of the day, which nobody wishes to have. And I know this movement does not want to have. And Mr. Gulen doesn't represent that. And he has I think, a respect that if he speaks out to this, it'll be heard, listened to, and bring the religion in the eyes of North American people much more into respect and into common understanding. I see the Hizmet movement as filling a void that needed to be filled by the Muslim religion. There's many interfaith movements amongst the Jewish and Christian and other communities here in Edmonton, and probably elsewhere in Canada, but none that have really come out of the Islamic religion. And now we have one, and we have it done in a very good way. This is going like gangbusters. This is an amazing amount of work done in a very short period of time, all in a positive way. When I think back, when it hardly even existed here in Edmonton, 5 years or so ago, I don't think anybody knew about it. Well, I became aware of it, and then I began going to some interfaith dialogue meetings and presentations, and I participated in some, and I saw how the politicians came and saw how this furthered their own interest, to be honest. I know that they're all looking for votes at the end of the day, but they do understand to follow the right path, not an incorrect path. And it's just done volumes for everybody here in this city. And it's now grown to a way that there's a summer event which draws lots of people down in the inner part of downtown Edmonton, in Old Strathcona, where there's a 2-day event, and it's all about culture and food and people just communicating with each other. And it's a remarkable event, as well as events that go on like Noah's Pudding and things of that sort throughout the year. What it's done is brought to the forefront so people can see that there are reasonable, educated, and willing people within the Muslim world who want to be understood and want to share and communicate with others, and it's working. It's beginning to work. Everything takes some time, but I see the momentum building, and I see the crowds coming, because I go. And at the very beginning, there was you and me, maybe, and that was it. Well, I don't even see you anymore because you're lost in the crowd. And that's great. That's good. That means it's reaching out. And in the fullness of time, you and I won't be here. And others will take on this pretty important role of communication between all the faiths. I had the opportunity of visiting a number of Hizmet schools in Turkey. And I saw many kids, and these weren't just young kids. This is all the way through university. This program is holistic, and it covers the whole gamut of children, which is a good thing, because you can't just take young kids and expect to show them understanding and think that they'll still have that when they turn 15 or 18 or 25. So you have to continually be part of their education. And I was amazed. I saw all sorts of schools, as I mentioned, in some very poor areas, in eastern Turkey up against the Syrian border, and some very well equipped universities further west in Turkey. I'm very well aware of how education and how children have to be educated, and they're our future. My daughter right now is teaching in Dubai. She taught in Islamabad, she's taught in Bangkok and Seoul, Korea, and now in Dubai. Good teachers are not easy to come by. I think she's a very good one. But I hear the stories of how she meets children, and what's driven home to me and how I see the Hizmet movement working well here is it's not just about the children. Because if it's only about the children, we're missing probably the source of the problem. The source of the problem are the parents. Because they're the ones who come with preconceived ideas, hatred or biases, things that aren't good, that after the children leave school and go home, they're still subjected in the environment of the home, all the preconceived ideas that come with the parents. That has to probably still be addressed, how to bring in the parents into the school system so that they hear and see and understand that maybe they can help. Maybe their ideas aren't always right. And I think the Hizmet movement is doing that. I think it's such a well-based program of understanding that it's hard not to accept it. But that's going to be, I think, part of the whole solution, is not just educating kids and getting up and getting them good jobs and letting them become prosperous and do well for their children that are to come, but it's to take the old ideas out of them that don't work. And those old ideas come from older people who are their parents and grandparents and the extended families throughout the world. And in that regard, I think the movement is doing a remarkably good job. Going to Turkey was a highlight of one of my offshore visitations. It was truly a remarkable place. And when we went with the Hizmet movement, it was completely open. Go where you want to go, see who you want to see, talk to who you want to talk to. In the meantime, we'll introduce you to people as well. One of the highlights was the many meals, dinners that we shared in people's homes. We got to meet people, and they were legitimate, with their families, their kids, their parents, their friends. And we sat with them and broke bread with them. And we may not have always understood each other because of language barriers, but the warmth was genuine. There was nothing phony or pre-contrived about that at all. It was legitimate as far as I could tell. And that went on day after day after day. And as an astute student of clients, since I practice law, I have to understand what people's motives are. And you cut through by their body language, by how they say things, how they respond. Pretty well you can figure out what someone really wants at the end of the day. And I thought everyone was honest and genuine with us throughout our 3-week stay in Turkey.
In a certain sense, what I found so valuable about going to Turkey and learning more about Hizmet movement was to reinforce what I knew anyway, but to reinforce the idea that Islam is not, these people. It's not people who have bombs and want to kill and shoot. That Islam indeed is so much bigger and so much broader.
Frankly, I think Mr. Gülen is an amazing person who has created avenues for people to dialogue with each other in ways that I haven't seen before, crossing boundaries of nationality, of religion, of race. I'm a big fan.